A Sunday night ends tragically for Stephen Allwine and his young son. The two return home for dinner to find their wife and mother shot to death.
We believe that the son was the first one to find Amy.
Amy Allwine had been shot one time in the head. A handgun was lying next to her body. At first, Stephen believes his wife had committed suicide.
I think my wife shot herself. There's blood all over.
But cops quickly determined the crime scene says otherwise.
So you think the killer, once he killed her, staged the crime scene, then this person went into a cleanup process?
Yes.
Who would want to murder the preacher's wife? By all accounts, she had no enemies. Amy was well liked at her church and by the clients of her very popular dog training business.
Her friends and her customers with the dog world too loved her. They absolutely loved her.
But very few of those people knew Amy had actually been holding a terrible secret and living in grave fear for her life for 6 months, ever since the day the FBI showed up on her doorstep.
They had come across a threat to Amy's life on the internet.
In early 2016, hackers broke into a hitman for hire website known as Besa Mafia. Those hackers turned their information to the FBI, a list of people being targeted for murder by Besa Mafia. One of the names on that list, Amy Allwine.
Law enforcement learned that an individual with the username DogDayGod posed the question to Besa Mafia, will you kill this person?
FBI agents were certain this was no case of mistaken identity. DogDayGod had made it very clear who was to be killed.
There was a series of emails back and forth between Besa Mafia and DogDayGod, some of which include instructions on where Amy was going to be going for a dog competition, the place she was staying at that location. Uploaded a picture of Amy to Besa Mafia so the so-called hitman would know precisely who to kill.
DogDayGod also handed over plenty of money to ensure getting the job done.
DogDayGod ultimately paid Besa Mafia about $12,000 in Bitcoin.
Sergeant McAllister explains why Bitcoins were used instead of cash.
It's electronic currency that's essentially anonymous. You can sell them, exchange them, and it's really, really difficult to track. So it's sort of the currency of choice on the dark web.
Assistant County Attorney Jamie Cruiser says because Besa Mafia was on the dark web, the FBI had no way to identify DogDayGod.
By being on the dark web, you cannot be monitored. What you are looking at, what you are typing in, what you are trying to do, buy, sell, it is unmonitored.
Fortunately for Amy Allwine, the Hitman for Hire website was a fraud. Besa Mafia was taking people's money, but not carrying out any killings.
They were defrauding would-be criminals, if you will.
But though Besa Mafia may not have been real, the threat to Amy Allwine's life was.
Amy had to be terrified.
Yeah, she was absolutely terrified.
Terrified and confused. Steve and Amy had no idea who would want her dead. And the only thing the FBI could tell them,
Whomever was DogDayGod was intent on having Amy Allwine killed.
but identifying that person would be nearly impossible. That's when the Allwines take drastic steps to protect themselves.
So Stephen goes out and he buys a handgun.
Yep.
What type of gun?
A 9mm pistol.
They install an extensive security system at their home, which sits on 26 acres off a rural road.
They installed some security cameras and a security system from Xfinity. They also installed one of those Ring video doorbells.
They even left the country for a couple weeks, only telling the people who were traveling with them.
They went to Germany, and it was part of their church. And we did learn that Amy actually rested as well as she had rested all summer. She knew, being in Germany, that any potential killer probably wasn't going to be able to track her there.
But when she returned home, the threats continued. this time in the form of a couple of cryptic emails.
In the email, it basically said, you need to commit suicide, otherwise we're going to harm the rest of your family.
Then, the reason why. Someone using the name Jane alleges Amy ruined her life by having an affair with her husband, saying, quote, I do not know how a fat expletive like you got to my husband, but because of you, he left, and my life has become expletive. Commit suicide. If you do not, then you will slowly see things taken away from you, and each time you will know that you could have stopped it, which will eat you apart from the inside. The sender even provided Amy with a list of best ways to kill herself. Shotgun to the head, cyanide, inhaling gas, slitting wrist.
Also in the email were identifiers, if you will. I know where your gas meter is, and identifying certain people and their addresses that would be harmed if she didn't commit suicide.
Jane even mentioned specifics about the Allwine's young son, saying, quote, I saw last Friday he was wearing a bright pink shirt, and made it appear that she'd been watching Amy. I see that you moved the RV.
All the emails were coming in as anonymous emails, and they were used through an email anonymizer, virtually untraceable.
In closing, the sender warned, unless you are a heartless, selfish expletive, then I expect to see your obituary in the paper in the next couple weeks.
Are you thinking this Jane woman could be responsible for this? And staging the scene?
Yeah, I mean, that's part of the mix.
Up next is a love triangle to blame for the murder of the preacher's wife.
Was it ever proven that Amy was having any type of affair on Stephen?
The search for her killer was about to expose dark family secrets.
I believe that Amy kept a lot of that between her and Stephen.
This was really a classic whodunit.
In the months leading up to her killing, there were threats on Amy's life.